What's going on, everyone? Once again, it is Dr. Mephisto. We're here in Toronto. It's -1 degrees and it's snowstorm today. So welcome to the ride, episode 3. I'm very excited about the guest I'm getting today. It's a really talented artist and I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. By the way, if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe, put a like, share, and don't hesitate to put suggestions in the comment section of artists you would like to hear about. Let's go!
No time.
What's going on, man?
Yo.
TK Smooth. You good?
I'm good.
Nice to see you, man.
I gotta take off my jacket too.
No, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. I think we're gonna head up to the city. So I have a nice background. So how you been, man?
I'm alright, man. It's just
doing
tired.
A lot of things like usual in the city.
Tired.
This guy's bringing WizKid.
No, I'm not bringing WizKid.
You're not part of this?
I'm part of just the promo team.
I see, that's good.
As usual.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, yeah, present yourself real quick just for people who don't know you.
TK Smoothe, aka Tonderai Kanonge. Zimbabwe, based in Toronto, Canada. Basically what? I work with Moonraiser Ent. Started a long time ago in high school, man, like in Zimbabwe there.
Also, Moonraiser from Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, it's not from Toronto originally?
Nah, man, we still way back.
I'm already learning new stuff.
I think it's 97.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Shit.
When I came up with the name, and then when I moved up here, like 2000, 2001, it was just a matter of just, going alive more. We started in the community, just doing events in the community, and then we expanded outside, like Southern Africa per se. And then started more events like African, because the whole movement was growing bit by bit.
Yeah.
That's how it started, but it started from high school.
Shit, 91.
Yeah.
And so how was it to bring this to Toronto? You have to start over, what was the story of moving this to Toronto?
There wasn't really a story, I would say it was difficult, because when I moved here, I was finishing high school, and then the next thing, it was just a matter of, we used to do these events, would play social soccer, so people would gather, and then after that, they don't have anything else to do. So me being in entertainment, I just decided I should find a way to have people gather once in a while, as a community, So me and my buddy Eddie Jones, I told him, listen, I'm doing this thing, Moonraiser Entertainment, can be part of it. And we just started moving within the community, just making sure everybody gets the word that we're going to be doing events. And from there it was easy, because there were African events which were happening back then. It was more that either a birthday party or a wedding. It wasn't like Africans would gather to be at a party, which everybody's just advertised and everybody could come. It was more community based. So
family and everything?
Yeah, it was more family based back then. Like early 2000, it was more family based. But after 2004-5, we started doing events like in bars and banquet halls. That's when this really exploded, where it was more like, oh, we could do events in these places and just invite everybody and make everybody pay.
I see. I just want to give people like an understanding of what is Moonraiser Entertainment. What kind of artists did you bring in Toronto?
Artists, after a while of doing entertainment, because we are more Southern African, and Moonraiser is mainly like we want to promote more Southern African and then Africa and then just music in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we started with the first one was Bojo Mujo, the late Bojo Mujo. I don't know if you know him, but
you always bring like all the sick artists, and I discovered a lot more music. I discovered a lot of music because of you, actually.
Yeah, Bojo Mujo, and then I went old school. We actually brought Freddie Gwala and Platform One. That's old school. For those who are Southern Africa, they know those. Especially Platform One, Freddie Gwala is a legend. And then we went more onto the Kwaito Afro-house tip, where now it was just bringing like the DJs who are in Southern Africa. DJs has always been like an artist,
Mm-hmm.
So DJ Cndo, Black Motion, DJ Tira, there's been a lot of late. Like it's just been a pile of DJs and artists we've been, bringing from Zimbabwe, Winky D, Toki Vibes,
And at your level, like where you DJ too, so it's not only organizing party, but you DJ too, and I love what you're doing, man. It's very, I don't know, I love it. Each of you said I've been there. I've been just having so much fun. And when did you start? Back home too?
Yes, it's DJ starting back home in high school. Would use cassettes, and it actually started with a lot of dancehall.
Okay.
My closest people's Minox and JKB Silverstone crew. Those are the people who really made me get into entertainment. They used to have a reggae DJ sound called Silverstone, and I would get music from them. I remember like tracks like Everyone Falls in Love. I would know probably in Zim. I'll be one of the first to get it because those guys would send it to Zimbabwe. It actually came in pizza box in finals. He would mail it to Zimbabwe, and then we'll be there. The bag would come in, and then it would be open, and it would sample the 45s on the finals and whatnot. And it was those rhythms, and so then we'd record it, put it on a cassette, the whole rhythm and everything. And then when I go to school, I was in entertainment committee at St. Paul's in Sami. It's just like 60 k's away from Harare, our capital city in Zimbabwe. Then we'd play the cassettes. So dancehall was the first definitely introduction into being like into entertainment, and what's worse, I think it was during the time when Shabba Ranks came to Zimbabwe. He was one of the early people also to come after Bob Marley. Of course, Bob Marley came in 1980, so Zimbabwe had always been so much into reggae.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how actually, like, I know in my country, like when you're a kid, you don't really listen to, I mean, like, you listen to French music, I guess, but we will listen to a lot of music that were not originally from France, like rap, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't listen to like the French variety music that much. I mean, like, at least like in my community, in my friends and everything, we're not. And how is it what kind of music do you guys listen when you're kids in Zimbabwe? Is it a lot of local music too, or is it foreign music?
It was a mixture of both, because what happened is when we were growing up, like you have a housemate, and the housemate usually liked to listen to local music. So they'll put on this station, it was called Radio 2. It'll play mainly local. Yes, there was Radio 3, which played more urban, more, hip hop more, getting stuff from, like UK or the States. But I wouldn't say I was a big fan of hip hop and whatnot. I was more into reggae.
Yeah.
Dancehall was like, when I listened to the dancehall, to the sound, to the beat, I was so amazed. It was unbelievable. I would wait to listen to these reggae shows on Fridays, and that's where I would listen to new dancehall. And then we had this other show which used to show called Tropical Hit. I think a lot of people might know it. It was from Jamaica, and that's where I would see all the dancehall queens and all that Buju Banton on a bike, like on the video, like way back, Party Rider and all those tracks. But it was dancehall. And then because my father also liked music, I would get to listen to music from back home and Congolese music. Back then, that was like the hub of what you called African music. Even Zimbabwean style music called Sungura was also kind of centered around the guitar, the Congolese guitar, the way they play, So even up to now, Sungura is also big in Zimbabwe.
What I've heard is that Congo was like New York for music in Africa.
Yes, because the president, I think it was Mobutu, who was it way back there. He was so good in putting money into arts. So their artists really picked up big time, a long time before a lot of artists from other countries, and that's why their music in Congo was big. And then you had Channel O, which was the South African, sort of like, what do you say, MTV or BET channel. But it used to show that music, and then would get to listen to Kwaito.
Yeah.
I think back then it was more like Digong or something like that. Yeah, so would listen to that. So those were the influences of where the music was coming from.
Can you explain what's Kwaito for people who don't know?
Kwaito is more like, I would say, South African hip hop. It comes straight from the township.
Yeah.
And it's on the BPM is usually 90. It was 90. It was way laid back,
But with the hip hop.
Yeah, with the heavy beat, So because it was 90, it was easy to transition it to 124, 125 when house came.
Yeah.
So Kwaito artists, some of them just transition easier to Afro-house.
Yeah.
But there will be, you see a lot of the Kwaito, the way they, rap or the way they will be singing. It was more inspired with Kwaito,
Mm-hmm.
The likes of, let's say, Trompies, old school artists, TKZ, all these guys, Arthur, all these guys, they came like during the Kwaito era, and Kwaito is still big, and we always make sure we play some of those big tracks from that era, because that's what also was inspired to music to come to where it is. And Kwaito is actually a big genre of South Africa. It's an identity of the township too.
Yeah. So actually, I personally started embracing Afro-house, but mostly through the dance community back in France, and I've heard a lot of because all my teachers were actually traveling and learning a lot from South Africa and from Pansula and everything.
That's the era, Pansula, all that kind of came through the Kwaito era, Digong, that sound which is way back, and the sound from the townships.
Yeah.
And definitely Pansula is, I used to actually try to figure out where did these guys get inspired, the Pansula dancers, and those are the likes of Trompies, like I'm saying. They used to dance in groups and be doing all the break dancing and stuff.
Yeah.
That's more like Pansula,
So, but my question was more like, what for you was the where Afro-house came from?
Okay, so now, by the time when I left like Africa, Afro-house wasn't big. There used to be house music, because house music, started Chicago, Detroit, New York, and then a lot of UK infused there. And then went to Africa. In South Africa, it was easy to embrace. It was house music, house music. So I never really cared much about house music to that extent because it was more like I didn't connect with it.
Yeah.
But the moment now the Kwaito people, like DJ Cleos and them, went on that BPM and started putting, it was more like house, but it was still a Kwaito sound to it with the heavy drum bass.
Yeah.
That's when this Afro-house exploded to the rest, I would say, of Southern Africa at that magnitude. Now it was embraced as music from home because it had the drums from home, it had the sound from home, and then it had a lot of more Kwaito known artists who were on it. So it became easier for us to embrace. That was, for me, that was around 2006. That's when I started really saying, I'm playing this stuff. And then there's the tribal house, which is more really like, really, there's more use of African instruments, African culture, like inspired by African culture. That's when I said, I'll listen to this stuff.
Yeah, because there's a lot of artists that were doing Afro-house, but the Afro-house from maybe like 10 years ago is so different from the one today.
Yes.
The drums is so more present now. I find like it's more tribal.
You see, like DJs like who have come up now, like Heavy K, the drum boss.
Yeah.
The drum is the essence of Africa, the rhythm. And he tries to make sure he puts that heavy drum bass in there. And for me, that was like, it connected, because even if I'm from Zimbabwe, when we're in the village there and they play the drum when we're in the village, like, you connect with that. Yeah. That's when I embraced, like, I was like, whoa, I embraced this stuff. Now we together, we're saying it's not like just, you know, it's not like house music. It's not just dance house music, you know?
Yeah.
I could listen to it, and even without lyrics, I'm okay with it because I'm just listening to the drums, to the instruments. You see, when Black Motion puts out their stuff, like, okay, this is the stuff I want to listen to. Because when house music really was in the beginning, it used to be DJ Fresh, Euphonic, and them. They used to be more techno house, the way I look at it. But you know, they were into that house, but it was more techno, you know.
Was house popular anywhere else in South Africa? Because I have heard some crazy stories that DJs were like, they were like okay famous in their country, but then they discovered at some point that I've heard this story of this DJ that DJ was talking about. I don't remember who it was, but he did like a trip to South Africa. And like everybody at the border knew him, and he had no idea that he was like a huge star in South Africa.
Even you saying that, like even my friend Nick Holder, he put out this track Summer Days in 2001, and DJ Fresh is one of the people who also made it popular in South Africa. He played that track. That track is big, Summer Days, and Nick Holder, first time living from here, Toronto, going to South Africa, he didn't even know how popular he was until he went there, and he was so surprised that, oh, these guys really embrace house music like this, you know. Yeah, like house music has always been so big in South Africa, but the magnitude of really getting like to everyone's house became bigger when it was more Afro.
Yeah,
you know. That's when it really like, everybody, you see, was onto like, oh, house music, you know. But it has always been underground house music. It's always been big, mainly in South Africa. But when you say Afro house, it became so big in Southern Africa because now it was, the sound had changed, and they had managed to put the African sound in there, and then it started spreading. Like Afro house is also big in Kenya, Nigeria, you know, it's big, and now Angola also have their own style of Afro-house too, from transitioning from their own music, which was Kuduro.
Yeah.
You know, Kuduro, where they dance with their feet a lot. Even when you see on their Afro-house dances, like they dance with their feet a lot.
Well, I mean, house dance, yeah, it's definitely a full work dance, and do you know much about the actual history of house dance? from, I don't know. I had Raul on the show before. We talked a lot about house dance.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, and yeah, but my question was also like why is house so is house was house popular outside of South Africa in other countries than South Africa? Because South Africa has a really particular history compared to, well, I'm not an expert in anything, right? But there's like with apartheid and all that stuff, like there's like a really particular history, right? Compared to other countries, and even like again, like I don't want to talk because I know so little, but the social situation there, you know, the race issues and all that stuff has it sounds like it makes it really unique compared to other countries.
Like I was saying, that house wasn't like that big popular outside South Africa, especially in Southern Africa per se. And it's only until when it started doing, like, incorporating our sound, the African sound, that's when Afro-house became really, really popular, you know. From my own experience.
Yeah.
You know.
So what did you leave, why and when did you leave South Africa to come here?
Zimbabwe. I left 2000. I actually came for school.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, I actually came for school, and Zimbabwe just got worse, and that's how I ended up just staying here.
Yeah.
You know, but I always go almost every other year. I try to go home and see what's going on. You know, that's when I went 2006, and then that's when Nihamba Nawe was big, DJ Cleo. I came back, told my people here I work with, I'm like, listen, we're gonna start playing this stuff. This is the stuff we are moving. It sounded like Kwaito, but it was so fast paced, and they used to be like, what is this? I'm like, that's the stuff we're playing. And then we started going to Miami for Ultra, for the Winter Music Conference. And then I bumped into Black Motion. They played their set, the DJ and the percussionist there, Tabo. And I was like, this is insane. I came back again. I told my people, I'm like, these people, we're bringing them to Toronto. Like, we don't know them, you know. I'm like, you don't need to know them. You'll see them when they come. So we brought them a revival there. That was an experience. That was now 2012. And I had guys who are in the house community here. They were just there. Even Nick Holder was there. Everybody was at the back just watching them, blown away, playing. You know, sometimes you watch a DJ play and then you'll be like, okay, we're gonna dance. Then it was more like, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
But it was just that powerful. For me, that was a definition of Afro-house. From there, I was like, this is the stuff I'm talking about when I'm saying Afro-house. I don't want to confuse it with any other type of house. This is Afro-house. And this is the reason why it's now big in Africa, because it managed to produce the sound of Africa, the rhythm of Africa, you know. So that's what I liked about music. Even though it started from Chicago, it found its way to Africa, and still people could find a way to embrace it, but also putting in their own culture, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so you said you started doing DJ, like you started DJing like with cassettes and everything, but what brought you to this? Like, what was your journey to become an entertainer like that?
Honestly, it was just the love of music, you know, because even when I was young, when we used to go, every Christmas we'd go to our village in Buera down there in Zimbabwe, and there you are listening to local music. You're listening to Sungura, the one I told you was inspired mainly with the Congolese sound.
Yeah. And
I just used to love the way people would dance to that music during Christmas time. We would actually just be so happy to be there. So the music, the love of just dancing and, you know, the sound is what made me keep on like listening to music, you know. And it just grew with different places I used to be. And that's when I bumped into reggae, right? Hip hop was there, but it wasn't my love, because it had this. When I was back in Africa, for me, that's when Tupac just got shot.
Yeah.
Like it had that violence attached to it. So I was never a big fan of hip hop because of that narrative. Only when I came 2001, when I came here, that's when I started to really like say, okay, let me pay attention to what are they saying, and comparing it to their lifestyle. You know what I mean? For sure, the hip hop I used to love definitely was like the house party kind of hip hop.
Yeah.
You know those guys when they used to do their house party movies, like that Will Smith kind of hip hop.
Oh, like when the BPM was higher,
and they were just rapping about funny stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe just going at it back and forth, just laughing. I wasn't so much into the gangster.
Yeah, it was the first generation. Was all about you know, unity, having fun.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
The girls and stuff. That was it. So I wasn't so much into, you know, the gangster. When it started to be gangsters, I was like, I don't like this. I don't, you know. But I guess from now understanding it, it was just more them talking about their lives, you know.
Yeah, there's a phase that was in between the gangster rap era and after the old like party era. They had, you know, there's that phase where hip hop became more conscious, more like Afrocentric. I don't know how you like this.
I liked it. It's the Bambata and them. They are the ones who became more
Zulu.
Zulu. It was because of it was more because of trying to say let's respect ourselves. You know, like who are we, and trying to identify themselves. And that's when even DJ Bambata, I think that's when he got his he changed his name to an African name, which I like, because also even coming here, when I came, we couldn't have our music be played in regular clubs with even Jamaican crowd or Jamaican DJs, or you know. But that's why I basically mainly pushed to start having events for Africans, because it's not
really?
Like we
very interesting.
It's not like we were not supporting. We used to go to all reggae jams. We used to go to all these urban hip hop parties, whatever. But you say, can you play this African joint? It was more like, what is it? And you'd be like, what do you mean, what is it? So that African stigma was still there, even within our own black community. The African stigma was there, where an African is the worst of the West. So I was like, nah, that's not true. At the end of the day, we can have our own parties anyway. So we started having our own parties, and we just kept at it. And 2008, 9, 10, Afrobeats starts really coming up, you know. 2008, 9, 10.
What was the trigger, on your opinion?
Two-Face.
Yeah.
Two-Face definitely should be one of those guys, because when he came out, African Queen, the track African Queen, Caribbeans didn't know it was an African.
I see.
So it was getting played, and we were like, yeah, that's an African guy there, you know. But they didn't know. And then, in my own experience in Toronto, Trinidad was the first to really embrace African, like to say, okay, we're gonna play as is, no mixing, no nothing, like give me the track, we'll play it. And then definitely when Drake did the first collab with Wizkid and Skepta, that then made the other DJs start saying, okay, we could play these tracks, you know. But I was like, yo, but you're the same guys I was asking to play this African music for the last, you know, how many years. But later on, like now, it's more like they can text and even ask me what's hot, what's happening. I'll be like, oh, this, you know.
It's funny, I think it's changing.
Now things like that also, to me, that's why I even respect DJ Bambata, because that identity aspect has always been an issue. It's more like you have for me, my own experience now is coming to Canada and seeing this, which I never knew when I was in Africa. There's Black America, Black Caribbean, and Black Africa, and these three were kind of like disjointed, you know. But they all do what I like, which is music.
Yeah.
They all produce good music. But now, you see it even in hip hop. Back then, you wouldn't see a rapper just do a collab with an African. Like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
But now you have so many rappers going to Africa, you know, doing stuff with African artists, and you know, that's amazing.
So how do you feel about that? You think it's genuine? You think it's just like financial oriented, or you think like
a lot of
both, right?
a lot of it, to be honest with you, is now getting genuine because they're getting to know people.
Yeah. For
themselves, they're identifying not what they grew up being told. Because, you know, like they grew up just watching on TV an African with a fly on the belly asking for food. All they know is we are not capable.
Yeah.
So sometimes I say, okay, yes, people say ignorance is not the best thing, but I say, you know what? Sometimes it's what you're given by the outer. Yes, it's your responsibility to research, but some people research at a later stage, some people at an early stage, you know. Even here, while I'm telling you, I had DJs who are my friends who were playing at, you know, big places, but still they wouldn't. But I'm their so-called friend.
Yeah.
I have promoters like some of the familiar faces, like Yellow. He's one of these guys who promote reggae a lot from way back when I came. He calls me now. He's like, TK, I understand what you used to what you wanted to do with this movement. I never used to understand it in the beginning. You know,
recognize that.
Now you recognize, like, yo, you guys are the true trendsetters of this African movement from way back. I know I can name like a couple of people, and I not even like I have a list which I always look at. I like these people were part and parcel of this movement in Toronto for keeping that African movement alive. You know what I mean? So it's okay. Some people are taking advantage, but some people, for me, it's like they are really realizing when they go to Africa, like, oh, these guys are really, there's a market and they're really doing their thing. They go to Africa, they'll see an African artist can fill up a stadium.
Yeah.
And people really paying. And it's hip hop, but it's on a quieter tip.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, that's the impact of what hip hop did. Because some of the artists don't even know what the impact of their music does. Because they never moved outside or traveled. They always stayed where, especially in the States. They stayed in the States. Even some reggae artists stayed in Jamaica. Never really understood that reggae, we ended up having the likes of Lucky Dube, the late Lucky Dube, because of the influence of reggae, you know?
So what is there any, like, because I know reggae had so much influence on like what was the birth of hip-hop too, right? I mean, like, Cool Herc was from Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
And,
yep.
What was the impact? Is there any impact? Any sorry, I'm losing my word. Is there any impact from reggae on African music?
There's African reggae.
Really?
In Zimbabwe, actually, call our music now is called Zim Dancehall. Like Winky D is Zim Dancehall. You know, we got a string of artists which at first we used to listen to a lot of dancehall from Jamaica, but then we started creating our own content, Zimbabwean content, on a dancehall beat. Kenya is big with reggae, dancehall. Its beats, if you check, it's always on that BPM, which is like the Shaka Dimas implies, the Bam Bam, like kind of, you know. It's always on that
Still
beat.
Very reggae.
Their music, it's more reggae.
Yeah.
Gambia is big with reggae, you know. Reggae has, for me, reggae is really big on influencing a lot because its sound, when it comes, people want to dance.
Yeah.
It livens up the party. That's what I liked about the reggae from when I started listening to it from way back.
And shit, I forgot. Let's measure the thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, So yeah, I was gonna say that that's funny because when you said that a lot of the dancehall DJs didn't want to play your music, it's funny because you ask any like African dancer. I work a lot on my events with like African dancers, and they have like a really, you know, they're in a real place right now because they see that everyone is trying to teach Afro right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
dance studios used to teach salsa a lot. That
yeah.
was the outside thing.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying,
But
yeah.
now they're trying to teach. Actually, there's been a time where they've been trying to teach Kizomba.
Yeah.
So they were teaching Zouk too, but now they're teaching Kizomba, which is Angolan.
Yeah.
And now they're teaching a lot of Afrobeats, right?
Yeah.
But dance studios, for me, have been a huge blessing in spreading the fire too.
Yeah.
Because you have people who don't come to our parties. Because what was happening too is, let's say you're doing an African party, you're gonna do it up in the West End, and somebody might love African music, but it's hard for them to come to the West End.
Yeah.
And you know, because of what's said about the West End. You understand? So, but now you have all these dance studios downtown. They're teaching Afrobeats, and all these people learn these moves. Eventually, they want to come to an environment where the music is being played and see if they're now good at what they've been practicing. So it helps also spread the music. And thanks to social media, you always have all these viral dance moves. You know, it helps spread the music. That's really what helps spread the music. You know, like coming back to these DJs not playing the music. Even amongst themselves, reggae DJs would not play soca music. It will be like, soca will be just played maybe 20 minutes. And let's get back to hip-hop and reggae. You know what I mean? And that's why you have soca feds by themselves. They would end up deciding, listen, our music has our culture, our music has to be played. You understand? So I'm not surprised to see these entities in Toronto where you can go to a soccer fete, and it's just soccer. Yeah. You know, from start to finish. Because there was that yearning of, we want to play this music, but these guys are not playing this music. Yeah. You understand?
So what I was gonna say is that my friends who were teaching African, they actually African, and they get frustrated because they see all those people who, for example, like dancehall teachers, who now see like an interest into teaching African music for like the financial aspect, and they're getting frustrated because they're teaching. You know, there's no problem, but they don't go in depth. They don't try to find, like, to understand the roots of the culture, and they just embrace the movement. And it translates to an observation I had going to certain parties where they were hip-hop parties or like dancehall, soca, and then they want to also, you know, satisfy a certain clientele, and they want to play Afro. But the thing is, from my own learning, is that you don't play Afro the same way you play like in a sound system, you know, like dancehall and everything. Like, there's music that are extremely long, and you can just cut them after 30 seconds. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's an interesting situation.
I think there, I also look at it when hip hop, there's a lot of outcry about cultural appropriation. Yeah. When you see an artist probably whom they would say is not hip hop or is not black, they're just doing it for money or whatever. I understand where they're coming from, but I think your friends, what they just have to do is work on their marketing, work on their skills. The word will get out there. Yeah. If you're authentic, you're authentic. The word will get out there. People will know where this stuff comes from. The masses, sometimes, yes, they might be, you know, misled, but if people are truly trying to find where the source is, they'll get there. That they shouldn't be worried about. You know, you will never be able to stop those who imitate. You understand?
Yeah.
know.
Very true.
You can only just, focus on improving yourself and improving how you market your business and stuff. And obviously, maybe they are also looking at what's being taught out there, and they think I used to bump into other guys who will be saying, oh, this is not Kizomba, what they are now teaching. It's going to happen.
But I mean, okay, let's say for music it's different because I guess music it's a huge market, so people want to protect what they created, right? So when you have like if you take for example the Michael Jackson, back in the day trial when he took Mama Se Mama Sa from Manji Bongo. This thing, like, you can't see this in dance because the movement has been created by so many people. It's not just one person. And when you have, especially something that is like come from like the streets or like the people that cannot protect their creation, and then just people rob them from it and just make so much money off it, and without sharing or give it back, it's I can definitely understand where the frustration come from.
Sometimes honestly just depends with how we put ourselves out there.
Yeah,
that's number one. But when I look at, let's say, the history of hip-hop, when it definitely started, it was just for the people in those circles. You understand? Queensbridge, Bronx, in those circles, they themselves didn't even understand that the thing they had was that big, or it was that, the stage we are, I always tell everybody right now that the stage we are with Afrobeats is where it's easy for anybody to say this is mine, or I started, like I should protect this. It's a stage where you should just find a way on how you make yourself be identified. Let it spread like fire, but at least, like when hip-hop was spreading, we still know there's Dr. Dre, there's Ice Cube, there's DJ Bambara, Heck, all these guys you're talking about, we know them because they left a stamp which you can't erase. You can do whatever you want to do, but people are going to ask you, what about Snoop Dogg? What about this guy? What about P. Diddy? What about, you know what I mean? They were there, So that's the thing which these guys also have to understand. If anybody is thinking of, I want to learn Afrobeats in Toronto, who do I go to?
Yeah.
Find a way to be that person. That's what I think, I promote like African music. I promote Afro-house. I'll promote I'll promote Afrobeats, If I want to be known for the best DJ for Afro-house in Toronto, I gotta, improve my skills.
Yeah.
And when I play, you say, okay, this is the guy.
Yeah. It's true. Like,
should I stop you from embracing our music?
Yeah.
You're French.
Yeah.
You have this party called Ubuntu.
Yeah.
You know Ubuntu. What does it mean, Ubuntu?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you embraced it, you researched it, you loved it. You know what I mean? So how do I stop you? Why should I stop you?
I mean, I would say that the little, like, if we talk about Ubuntu, this was very much an attempt to push dance more than it was. We're trying because I'm doing it with someone who actually initiated me to this culture, right? My buddy who's from Rwanda, right? Who has this culture and basically shared with me, and I shared my dance culture with him. So it was more something like this. We wanted to have a place where everybody could come, and it's not necessarily like community oriented, but it's some people who are into dance basically. And the thing is, African culture has dance has a huge part of it in it. So yeah, it just came together basically.
That's the way the music, the culture does. It brings people from different, even like we're talking about Congolese music, most of the guys also had to get some of their style of play from Cuba.
True.
It's not like, you know, when they were transitioning from African instruments to, you know, electro and the sound, some of it they learned from Cuban.
Yeah.
You know?
But your point, I agree with your point. Competition is not necessarily like bad. Like it also pushes you to try to improve yourself, understand what people are looking for, and yeah, it's definitely like a useful pain. You know, even when people can hate on you or something like that, it's definitely like a useful pain to try to improve yourself. And personally, like I'm just really happy there is a lot of those sick parties now. It would be a shame if, you know, people were embracing this music, but then the party sucks. But the music the music does the work anyway. Even if you're a shitty DJ, like, okay, I'm not gonna try to push like shitty DJs, but the music does the work, and I guess that's a kind of a cool era we're in right now.
There's this thing where sometimes maybe like I understand when people are saying if I play reggae or dancehall as an African DJ, I'm not gonna be talking as much as a reggae dancehall sound would do, because those guys, that's the way they play, and when they're talking through the music, they're talking what's in the music and talking to their people, and that's how they do it. With us, if you do that to an African crowd or whatever, like, you're talking too much. You need to chill out. So like it depends with how, even when you play Afrobeats and you're in Caribbean DJ, sometimes you think you might be doing it the right way, but you might be doing it the wrong way too.
Yeah.
That's just the way it will happen, because the cultures are slightly different in how they want the music to be presented, you know, when it's in a dance or in a party, right? But if we can now at least hear the music, I go to a reggae party, now I hear a good 20 minutes of Afrobeats, I'm happy. You know what I mean? I'm happy, because now I can say, okay, I'll go to the party, you know, because a part of me is going to be played, my identity, you know.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Is there any format that you really don't like? You know, like you go to a jam, it's just like all commercial music, and then they drop like 10 minutes of Afrobeat to try to attract certain people. I don't know. Is there some stuff like you don't really like to see this music in?
Well, right now I actually say, you know what, I'm not gonna be worried about it. But every time I go to a place which never used to play any Afrobeats and I hear them playing Afrobeats, I'm like, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy you're coming along. It's like right now, reggaeton. It's been there, but now with all these collabos which just exploded last year, and they were in the billboards like top there, and then you also have Drake singing in Spanish, like doing that track. You see, that's where you see people just jumping to put things, you know. But you're happy. Now you even know, you go to a club, you hear a track, like 3 tracks, reggaeton, in places where you never used to hear, you know. But reggaeton has been there since like,
yeah, I know.
way back, you know, but still it wasn't being given a chance just to, you know.
It's a good mentality. I've had I always bring it back to dance, but I've had really interesting conversations with people who were like pioneers in dance styles, and you know, like I've been hating on the commercial music for a while. Honestly, like sometimes I can't. Like it give me rashes. Certain commercial music, but I've had those conversations with guys who were originator in the dance movement. And they were not hating. They were like, the underground movement is something you need to be brought to, right? And if the door to this underground movement comes from commercial, so be it. And I don't know if you saw a movie called Breakin'. I don't know if it's the same. I think it's the same title. France changed the titles of a lot of movies like back in the 90s, but it's Breakin'. Jean-Claude Van Damme was in it actually. It's one of the I want to say one of the first commercial movie. You know, it takes place in Hollywood, and LA, and yeah, it's like the first commercial movie that shows like displayed popping and locking to like the bigger audience, and a lot of people were hating on this, but it just opened a huge interest for those dances at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, commercial is always, it's always like, yes, like yesterday I was listening to Flow, and they play tracks, like new tracks. They play this new track and people were actually calling, oh, this is crap, we don't want to hear it. And I was like, damn, 5-7 people calling, complaining about it, saying that track is crap. And I was like, it's good when people tell these guys this is crap.
Okay.
You know, they play a new track and they want to see what people say. But commercial, always remember, like right now I was watching Davido's success story on his tracks, if why they're now, like the DJs themselves, breakfast DJs, DJ Envy and them, we're actually talking. I go to parties, people come to me and say, can you play Davido if, you know what I mean? But on radio, they were not playing the tracks. Hot 97, same thing. On radio, they're not playing the track. But underground, people are saying, we want to hear this track. We want to hear Davido, you know? But Davido, remember, for us in the community and whatever, we have been playing if. Now we're going if not 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? But it's finally catching to the masses, because that's the way it moves. Because on the top it's being suppressed. You gotta pay. The record company has to go pay the radio station for the record to be in rotation. You know? If you don't pay, your track is not played. But now the thing is, people go to the DJ in the club and request this, like, why are you not playing this song?
Yeah.
And you have places like in the States, one of the places I would say for sure embrace Afrobeats is Atlanta.
Okay.
Huge for embracing Afrobeats. You know, playing it in the clubs. African like celebrities and whatnot mixing and mingling with rappers there in Atlanta and whatnot. Everything blew up there too. You know?
So here's a tricky question. What is the trigger for making you someone that doesn't get it to someone that gets it? You know, like for example, a lot of people, and me included in a lot of ways, you're very like you're rejecting new things. Like for example, the new era of hip hop, like trap and everything. I was in a group of people in the community at the time that split hip hop in two ways. People were like more all about old school, and people were like embracing the new school. Especially mostly young people, right? And I'm not ashamed to say it. I didn't get it at the time, and I mean, I understand why people reject trap for so many reasons, and it became something ingrained in my brain. Like I just, everything trap, I just didn't want to hear about it. But at some point when I did a gig and I had to have some trap on me, and then I did some research, and there's some songs I started to like, and now I'm a little more open. But some people just get it right away.
I think I got trapped because I just like to turn up. So I didn't really take it seriously. Like, oh, what are they saying? Does it have any content or whatever? I took it as we're at a party. You know, when you guys are dancing, you just go in there, everyone say, oh, yeah. And you're doing your moves, you're doing whatever. Some of the moves you do, you just do them. They don't have to be like, oh, so perfect or whatever. But it's we enjoy watching you guys dance and do your thing. So that was what I took from trap. I'm like, these kids are crazy, but it's fun.
Yeah.
You know? I don't take it seriously, honestly. Like, I never take it to, so that's why it's easy for me to listen to new stuff. Like, imagine we grew up listening to Congolese music, which is French and Lingala and other, you know. But I'm not from there. I'm listening to the words, I'm switching them up. dancehall. I never used to even catch what Beanie Man, all these Sean Paul, all these guys were saying when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I never used to catch it. But we would just turn it up, and if we sing it, you would laugh. We might not even say what they're saying.
Yeah.
So because you grew up like that, it's easy for me not to even worry about the content which somebody is saying. I would take it as, can we have fun? Because I'm believing the reason why most of this music was to just make people enjoy and have a good time. So I didn't have any problem with, you know. But there was a situation where I had somebody, you know, got in my car and they said, turn off that hip hop, it's crap. Can you put on this other station? They asked to put on a station which plays rock and roll. And the rock and roll, that metallic one. And I'm like, but you just said this shit is crap. And you telling me to turn on to this rock and roll metallic. I don't even hear what they're saying. They just go, you know what I mean? I'm like, dude, these are two crap types of music. They're both crap. But you just don't know it. But that's that person. They grew up with rock and roll.
Yeah.
And they think, you know, rock and roll is the best thing ever. And that's what they're going to always think. But in my mind, it was a joke. Because I was like, yo, trap, rock and roll, both are saying most of the time garbage. They're not saying much, but it's just fun to listen to whoever likes, or you know.
I find it okay. Maybe I'm gonna shock people saying this, but I mean, James Brown was one of the craziest entertainer ever, but most people didn't understand what he was saying. When I was younger, I was listening to Michael Jackson. Like most of it, I didn't understand what he was saying.
I didn't understand what he was saying.
And but it was just the voice is an instrument.
For Michael Jackson, I think my memories will always be the live in Bucharest show in Romania, I believe. That show always kicks me because in my house we had a black and white TV. Okay. My neighbor had a color TV. So I would watch in my house and run across the road and go watch and then check to see what the outfit, what he's now wearing. Is it red? Is it black? And that's always been crazy. I always remember Michael Jackson because of that. That was one of my best memories. You know, live in Bucharest.
You know, I saw him live, right? I saw him when I was maybe 8. I saw him for the Dangerous Tour. Crazy. That was back at the time when he was still doing the move, you know, like
the leading tour.
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. And I said the same thing. I was like, yeah, you don't understand what he's saying. But I think from my country, it's very similar because we didn't understand English. Like I started listening to what they're saying very recently, like a few years ago, trying to. Even like now, the songs I'm listening to the lyrics more, but before not really. It was more about how we were feeling the music.
Me, I know what to listen to if I want to listen to lyrics.
Yeah.
If I want to listen to content. But if I want to just pump, it's just fun. Yeah, I'll put in trap, and I know I'm not gonna listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know, I'll listen to soukous, rumba, Congolese. I don't know what they're saying. It's in French, it's in Lingala, but I just like the sound of it. I like the sound of the guitar. I like the moving. But you know,
that's something that is cool in Toronto is that whenever there's an African party, they can play music in multiple languages, and people will still have fun and just listen to the drums and just really feel the music. That's
always been Africa. That's why I say when it's a drum and the sound of Africa, it doesn't matter where it comes from. I remember when Oliver Mtukudzi and an artist from Mali came, they were making a joke, like they were saying that I started this song, he was saying he started this song. Mali is all the way up North Africa. Oliver Mtukudzi the late is Zimbabwe, down and top, but they produced a sound which was similar. The rhythm is the rhythm for Africa. You can't change it. You don't need to hear what mainly they're saying. When you hear it, you just stand up and you just move to the groove and the sound. that's just the one common denominator across from north to south, east to west for Africa.
Is there actually like an equivalent in African music of because I know in for example French Caribbean they have a lot of how do you say that, like engaged artists who are writing really serious songs, you know, a little bit like hip hop back in the days, right, where they were like commenting what's happening in the with the cops and all that stuff. There's a lot of really engaged artists.
Oh yeah, yeah, like equivalent? Yeah, like the local music for like each country, or whatever, they speak about what's really happening. Yeah. Like in Sunkura per se, they would speak about things are getting tough. We are working, we're not getting money. I remember in Zimbabwe, Leonard Jagara used to sing about that. Thomas Mapfumo, one of our, you know, he used to sing about that. This our country is now gone to the west and it's going bad, you know. But you know, when it's all said and done, to be honest, like when I look at the movement of African music, London is our pot.
I've heard, yeah.
London is what has built a lot. I was joking, I saw this thing where they said we put the S to Afrobeat. It used to be Afrobeat.
Yeah.
So they said we put the S because they used to say, you want to listen to some Afrobeats? You understand? Then that's how they say, you know. I was laughing at that. I'm like, yeah, you might be right, because you guys, you know, you are the reason why we are where we are with the music and why it really got a sound and got airtime.
Yeah, England has always been, England has always been, I've been listening to a lot of English music from UK when I was young, you know, like a lot of garage, two-step, that kind of stuff. And they have something that we didn't have, like in terms of creation. And French steal music from everywhere, man. We have artists that basically took the song, translated the lyrics, and made a hit with it. Like, no shame.
Yeah, London had different cultures, so they started this thing of embracing different cultures from a long time ago. And also the African kids, or the kids with parents from Africa, were born in London.
Yeah.
You know, then started saying, you know what, I'm also still African. In the past 7 years or so, they've now really like, yeah, I am African too. Before they used to detach, but now it's more like, you know what, I am African. It's like watching an Italian or whoever who's born here. They will tell you I'm Italian still.
Yeah.
But they're born here. But there used to be that problem where if you are African or, you know, black in America, you always used to say you know, distance yourself from Africa in a way. But now it's more like the food, the fashion, the people, the music. People are embracing it, and that's what's good. That's all we need, and then we'll take it from there. And whoever is good in whatever they're doing, whether be it in the dance studio or the artists or the DJs or whatever, they will excel, because there's now people who embrace what we're doing. Like right now, like you said, we're concentrating on pushing whiskey. That's what's important, you know. It's not from Zimbabwe.
Yeah. It's funny because if you compare UK to France, for example, there's a huge difference in terms of like in terms of society, because UK, from what I learned, right, UK is separating people with neighbors, you know, like you have the African neighbors, Caribbean neighbors, whatever. In France, everybody's French. It's a little bit like I want to say it's a little bit like Russia, you know, okay, that's a little strong. But what I'm saying by this is like in when it was the USSR, right? Everybody in the territory was Russian, right? Doesn't matter if you were from another country, but you were Russian. Anyways, going back to France. Doesn't matter where you come from. If you have nationals, you have the French nationality. You're French, and I wonder if there's not like a connection with music for this, because you kind of like, if you stay in your culture in the UK with this neighborhood where you always like around people of your kind, of your community, you tend to, you know, like create, push this culture, right? And the UK is a really special country, man. It's very special, with no neighbors, you know. So so they have to take everything from outside. But yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if there's a connection here. Maybe it's stupid.
No, with Toronto per se, we're getting to that stage where we just we start with, we are Africans, yes, and then after a while we want to make sure that every part, each region gets, you know, its exposure, you know, it's what I mean? Yeah, that's why even I'm involved in this other festival called All Star Festival. The idea is to take an artist from north, artist from east, artist from south, artist from, you know, west, so that people know that the music is slightly different, the rhythm or whatever, the sound is different, but at the end of the day, when it comes to the dancing and whatnot, we are the same, you know. So it's what it is when it comes to that, and I'm happy to be part of the people who push the music and the culture, you know, in Toronto, in Canada, per se. You know, I'm happy to be doing that, and I'm happy to even meet people who embrace the culture and they're not from there, and they're so in love with putting it out there. And like you said, you bumped into it through dance, not through that I'm trying to research for Africa per se, but through dance, and that's what it is, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it was through dance, but I guess my teachers did the work. Like they actually went to South Africa exposing themselves. They did like shows with like Consular dancers. They brought them to France, and they made shows with them, trying to. It was difficult apparently to just even like to get them visas and stuff like that to come to our country. But yeah, they did the work.
I actually want to get more into understanding if the Pansula were inspired with that breakdance era in the States.
Oh, really?
Or who started? Because I'm not sure.
Related to breakdancing?
Yeah, because Pansula is more like that too.
Really?
The way they, you know.
Yeah.
So I would love to know where
you should speak to Raul. He has a good understanding of this.
Yeah.
He told me a bunch of stuff around this. There's another guy in Toronto. Actually, you should probably contact him. But he's a Pansula teacher in the city. And yeah, I organized a Pansula workshop once. I have this friend from Montreal. Shout out to Melly Mel. And she's like a born dancer. She's her dad is a musician and everything, and she went to South Africa multiple times and learned from the Pansula dancers there. So she came here and she gave like one of the hardest workshop I've seen. It's so hard, man. Pansula is very hard. There's a lot of like in between beats, steps that you need to do, and it's so synchronized. It's a crazy performance. I've always been impressed by it. And it's so, well, that's not the thing. You can just go in a club and do it, right?
Yeah.
You come with your crew, all like prepared everything, something before, and then you just throw it, and it's crazy impressive. And but yeah, so you don't know too much about the history of this?
Of when it really started?
Yeah.
No. Pansula?
Yeah.
Like what inspired it? I don't know. When it really started, I don't know. But it's a huge part of the culture of especially in South Africa.
Is that something that a lot of people dance, or is just really?
You can't say a lot because a lot can't do it to that level.
Yeah.
But a lot of people try to imitate. You know, dropping off their heads, picking it up with your feet, and you know, throwing with the elbows.
That's true. There's a lot of people doing this right now in hip hop. Like there's a dance called Light Feet, and they do a lot. Even Crime does that now. They do the hat tricks. They do a lot of hat tricks, popping too. There's a lot of things, and it might be coming from Kansula. I don't know. I have to do the research. But with internet right now, man, like it's amazing because you can just bring flavors from countries you don't even know, and get inspired from everywhere. It's an interesting time. And that's where, you know, this all segregation of culture, for me, it's good because it pushes the culture, but at the same time now we can be so connected to different cultures that it makes sense and it doesn't make sense at the same time.
True. So the next Ubuntu is March 23rd?
March 23rd, featuring my man here, TK Smoothe. I'm so looking forward to this.
No, I'm looking forward to it too. We're gonna make sure we put out the Afro-house out there. Afro-beats, everything, you know?
Yeah, it's funny because last event we had DJ Shakti, and he asked us before, you know, what do you guys expect from me? And a lot of DJs expect, you know, like people to come and do and request music, but nobody does that in our party because they always, after 3 years, they always come and they know that they need to be open. So, like, legit, nobody comes to ask us music. So just do yourself, man. Just do whatever you want. Bring the best of TK Smoothe, and I'm just really looking forward to it, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for having me.